Aloha everyone, and welcome to another video by me, K. Elmer. And in this video, a very unique and unusual one by far of a case study involving myself and a very nasty spider bite. And I thought you would find it interesting. And in the spirit of my channel, I just share what I learn, I share what I do. So I figured, why not just share with you the last 9 days of my life. So let's jump in. Some disclaimers. I really want to make sure very upfront here. This video contains some very graphic photos of a wound that I had and have actually. So if you're not used to seeing things like that, then this is probably not the video for you. There are open wounds and so forth. So this is clearly a case study on a very serious spider bite. So if you don't like that sort of thing, you might want to just click away. Otherwise, this material is for research purposes only. This is absolutely not medical advice. I am not a doctor. I am not giving you medical advice. In fact, do not try this yourself. I do not recommend anyone doing this yourself. I am a experimenter. I like to do research, and this is what I do. And so but I do not recommend in any way, shape, or form, for all of the right disclosure reasons, and you know what I'm talking about, but I'm telling you, do not try this yourself. None of the techniques used in this case study are approved by the FDA. And if you experience a serious insect bite, by all means, seek medical help. I am a very unusual person, and I like to research, and I like to test and experiment, and the only person I can do that with is myself. So herein lies my case study. This case study is myself experienced an insect bite that turned into a very serious abscess and infection within 48 hours. It was accompanied by significant pain for the first few days, followed by major itching. The suspected cause is, I believe I got bitten by a black widow spider. I did not see the spider. The reason I believe that is because I live in Hawaii. There's only a couple of things that are venomous here in Hawaii, centipedes and pretty much black widow spiders. There are other kinds of spiders, there are lizards and all sorts of things. We don't have snakes or anything like that. In my life, I've been stung by wasps, I've been stung by bees, I've been bitten. We have little red ants and the whole bit. We have carpenter ants, red ants, little black ants, and I've been bitten by every single critter. I've been living here for 30 years. I've been bitten by everything, except I have never, ever before this week, prior last week, experienced what I experienced. And I looked it up, I researched it, and in comparison to what I can see off of Google, the visuals are quite the same, and the symptoms and the reactions are very much similar, except for one, which I'll get into. Now, the treatments that I used upon getting this bite from this spider was I doubled up immediately. Doubled my daily dose of C60. I usually take a tablespoon a day. I doubled it to 2 tablespoons a day immediately. I implemented the Bob Beck protocol, which I've talked about in my electrohealing videos, which is blood electrification combined with colloidal silver and ozonated water. I also did a localized blood electrification using 10 pads. And then I also was, for the first few days, I was using a topical oregano oil topically, along with topical C60 coconut oil. And then once I had an open wound, excuse me, I'm sorry, I began doing ozone cupping along with that. So I want to kind of give you a visual depiction of what had happened to me. And this was a Friday ago. I took my dogs out to a park, and I was sitting out there, and I had gotten an insect bite. And that evening, the bite was like this small, and it was itchy and irritating, and it hurt a little. And I was thinking it was just really weird. I thought it was maybe a mosquito bite, but I didn't quite know what to make of it. And then the very next morning, actually within, I would say 36 hours or 24 to 36 hours, the bite had gotten this large, and then there was a circle around the bite. Where it was just really dark in the middle, and it was light pink, and then there was this really weird circle, and it looked like that, and it was really weird. And I immediately just went into overdrive. Within 24 hours, 36 hours, I immediately knew that I had definitely not had, it was not a mosquito bite, and I had to take serious action to address the situation, because it was definitely not something I'd ever experienced before, but I knew that it was toxic and it was bad. So the issues that I was dealing with in my mind, that I had to figure out what to deal with. And I just want to caveat that I'm not really a person that runs the ER for every boo-boo. So I look at something like this, and I have all these modalities by which I can implement, and I primarily just go to myself to treat whatever problems happen. So I knew that there was some kind of a toxin in me. It was immediately infected. It was infected almost immediately, which was very unusual for me. And then initially was a closed, and then it became an open wound. One of the concerns that I had with using bio-electromagnetic devices on this wound was the proximity to my heart. I'd actually attempted to use a CNR, but it was too close to my heart, and I decided to just abandon that immediately. And then in terms of the pain, it was very, very painful. And the itching, once the pain subsided a little after a few days, the itching has just been unbelievable. So the modalities or the treatments that I'd implemented, I want to give you just a timeline so you have an idea, because I used a lot of different things in a very distinct order. And the reason it was there was this breaking point here on day 3, and I'll show you, and I've got pictures. Here's how I did that. Like I said, one of the things that I've done the entire course of the 9 days. Today is day 9, actually, when I'm recording this video. I've been taking double doses of C60 oil every morning, and then every evening I've been putting on topical C60 oil, and not just a regular C60 oil. I happen to have Red Lion's newest product, and I don't know if it's that product specifically, but I needed coconut oil with C60 in it, and that was like readily at hand, and I used that. Of course, I had implemented blood electrification, which was the Bob Beck protocol. I did that for the first week, and then when it was a closed wound, I was doing local blood electrification, as well as applying oregano oil. And the oregano oil was for the infection, and the blood electrification was for the infection as well. And then once the wound was open, I started doing ozone cupping. Now, I want to just caveat, this is all the stuff that I did for the durations that I did it. And one of the things that I just, and this is by all means, this is my personal opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is just my opinion. I've been doing this well over a decade in terms of treating myself, using these devices, using these techniques, and so forth. But one of the things, when I compared what I was going through every other description I could find on Google, it was exactly the same systems down the line, except for one thing. I didn't experience any of the symptoms from the toxin. I didn't experience dizziness, nausea, or any of that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. One of the things is my body is always saturated with C60. Okay, I take a lot of C60 every single day. I do take breaks. Thank God this wasn't one of my break weeks. But it was, I've been taking it for days and days and days, for weeks, and I wasn't on a break. And I want to reiterate some things that I've said in other videos about C60 and toxins, right? It absolutely works for me to help me with my MSG. I have this horrible reaction to MSG. I have friends who have fallen in poison oak and not had any rashes or any problems. So C60 has, and in my opinion, and based on anecdotal evidence, it has a remarkable ability to mitigate the effects of toxins. And so I believe, and this is my opinion and my personal belief, is that the reason that the toxin of this bite did not affect me was because when that toxin went into me, the C60 immediately mitigated it and nullified the effects, so that I did not feel the effects of the toxin, but I did. But the cells and the tissue around the toxins immediately, I guess, putrefied, I guess is the word, turned into an abscess, and it got very, very ugly, and it was very painful, of course. But I really believe that this C60 and the fact that I had a lot of C60 in me when I got bit was a huge factor towards my recovery. And then the rest of it was just dealing with the aftermath, dealing with the infection, and so forth. So here's the pictures of what had happened. Obviously, this is the treatment protocol that I followed and I implemented. But right here, This was day one. This is literally the very next morning, and it was just I woke up to this, and I'm like, I was very surprised that what had started out as a mosquito bite looking thing, the skin just immediately started peeling away, and the area, like I said, had gotten quite large. This actually right here is literally bigger than a quarter. And so I immediately started doing localized blood electrification using these little 10 pads. Plus, I was doing Bob Beck protocol through my wrist. On day two, and this is like I tried to take a picture. The dates, the times of the day differ, but this is roughly within 24 hours. The middle section, it had completely abscessed underneath the skin. In the middle section, it started to turn very, very dark literally within 36 hours. And by day three, which was, I got bit Friday night, so by Sunday night, Monday morning, this thing was huge. It was extremely infected. It was necrotic. And I had a couple of concerns about sepsis and just the infection. And so I continued to localize blood I did localized blood electrification, which will nullify any pathogens. And you treat it, it's treating your infection. Of course, I was taking colloidal silver, I was taking ozonated water with the blood I was doing Bob Beck about 3 hours a day, twice a day for the first couple days. Okay, so I was really just cranking away on this thing, doing everything I can to basically fight the infection. And then help my body fight that infection so that my body was strong enough to fight off the toxins with the help of the C60. And I was putting C60 oil on this thing. Now, by Monday morning, which was day three and a half, this abscess ruptured, and it expelled quite a bit of fluid. I would say about 3 or 4 milliliters of fluid came out of my abscess, my wound. And then this was day 4. This was that within 12 hours after that. It was amazing. Once this thing drained, you could see where I'd started to win the battle, because I was doing a lot of different things all at the same time, but I was winning the battle. You could see the difference in coloration, where the dark, deep redness of the infection had gotten lower, much lower, and it was just a pink red color. But this is when I had to switch modalities, okay? Because at this point, I was messing with it as a closed wound, but by day by day 4, I had this scab on it, which was the top of this guy of the abscess, but then it came off really quickly, and the rings right here is when I had to. Once you have an open wound, you can't put oregano oil on it, and localized blood electrification had worked. Okay, so it worked for me. The redness is gone now. Now I'm dealing with an open wound, but again, very, very susceptible to infection based on the weakened, condition of my body at this point. But I was continuing to do blood electrification. I was continuing to put C60 oil on it, taking C60. I felt comfortable that I'd basically got a good handle on the localized infection aspect, and I just wanted to keep going with the Bob Beck. But now I had an open wound, and what this actually here, this little crater right there, was a 5 millimeter wide, about 3 or 4 millimeter deep hole. It was just a hole in me at that point. And so basically I continued to treat that with ozone cupping, and doing the Bob Beck protocol, and putting C60 oil on it. This was day 5, and by day 6, it had really started to dry and started to heal quite well in terms of just drying and the hole filling back up. And then by day 7, the hole is almost nearly closed. Again, I've got that ring from doing cupping. And then this is my newest problem, and I just made this huge mistake by putting a Band-Aid on it. Instead, I was putting gauze on it with medical tape, like a nonstick gauze pad after cleaning it, and I made the mistake of putting a Band-Aid on it, and I put one of those big old Band-Aids on it, and it turns out that I was very, very sensitive to the adhesive, and you can see the square outline of the Band-Aid. The actual adhesive messed with my skin, so I introduced an extra problem that I wish I would have known and didn't do that. So that's a side effect of using those Band-Aids. The medical tape didn't seem to affect my skin, but this Band-Aid definitely did. But just when you look at just purely the wound itself, the hole had almost completely closed, and by day 8, it's just this little tiny scab right here, and that's yesterday. And so now I'm just dealing with the itching from the adhesive. The infection's gone, and it's just the pinkness from the adhesive, and that's kind of it. And I won the war against the toxins and the infection. of a very nasty black widow spider bite, which, if you Google this and you take a look at what happens to other people, this is somewhat unheard of, that somebody could not have to go to the hospital and take care of it yourself. But what this case study is demonstrating, and what I wanted to share with you, is that if you're out in the woods or you're out on a boat and you can't get to an ER, okay, what are you going to do? I mean, okay, you're not going to get bit by a spider on a boat, but you never know, right? But if you're out in the woods, hunting, fishing, camping, whatever, you have to be able to treat yourself, and there's only so many antibiotics you can carry around with you, and if you don't do well with antibiotics, this is an alternative, okay? But again, I don't recommend people try this, but I just wanted to show you that it happened to me. This is what I did, and this is the result. Take it with you however you want, but this is real stuff. So I just wanted to kind of walk you through the machines or the devices that I used. This right here is it's one of the older Bob Beck, it's a blood electrifier based on Bob Beck's schematics. It was an open source schematic that he released. It comes in a box. This is from a company called Silver Smoke Research that doesn't exist anymore. This is really old stuff, and I had actually bought several of these things. I bought them, and then I'd actually retrofitted. I took the guts out of one of these boxes, and I got this little canvas bag so that I could actually, I just recreated it, and then I put it in a bag so then I could put a strap on the bag and strap it to my arm. And you'll see that it's really very convenient. So in blood electrification, you basically have two probes plugged into the electrifier, and they go over the two arteries on your wrist with a little cotton sleeves on top of it. And then you wet the sleeves, and then you plug it into the electrifier. This is what it looks like. I use and just if you guys ever wanted to use this, just some tips on this. But I just cut off the end of a sock, and trust me, it really helps hold the wires in place. Okay, so that's what the sock is for. The other thing in terms of, and let me just stop right here and talk about side effects. Okay, of everything that I did, there was only one side effect, and I accidentally right there burnt a hole in my arm. I fell asleep with the electrifier running, so I didn't feel it. So other than that, I would have felt it if I was awake, and then I would have, it's a thing. It's a thing about where you put water, you wet the sleeves, and so I accidentally burned a little hole in my wrist. But that was the worst thing that could have happened to me, compared to all of the things that could happen to you if you walk into an ER and they pump you full of chemicals. Okay, so anyway, that's my personal little mini rant. Okay, so anyway, I did mess myself up a tiny bit, but that was the worst thing that had happened in terms of me trying to treat myself, because I am completely, I'm feeling perfectly fine. I just have this pink spot on my chest now. But this is how you set up the probes, and then this is what it looks like when you put the sleeves on. And you put the sleeves on, you strap them down, you wet the sleeves, and then you strap. And this is exactly what I did. And then I strapped on the blood electrifier and plugged in the wires, and off I went. And then you do that for 3 hours or 2 hours, and then you take your colloidal silver and your ozone water. Now here's another one I just want to show you compared to. That's like the Silver Smoke Research blood electrifier is kind of an older model. Now there's a company, actually, if you want to buy like a professional commercial grade Bob Beck zapper, there's the Soda Silver Pulsar. This is one of the older models, but it's designed for this, so they make it very comfortable and easy. There's this really nice little I guess neoprene. Anyway, so you're just going to stop it. But you've got the neoprene wrist thing, and you've got these really convenient probes. They Velcro to the thing, so you can set it to the spacing you want. It comes with the armband, and it's built to be mobile. So that way, because if you don't have it like this, where it's mobile, or you can it's a pain in the butt. You just have to sit still for a while. Now, for the localized blood electrification, which a lot of people don't realize, you can do that, and you absolutely can. What you do is you just get these are TENS pads, TENS, TENS, which stands for transdermal electro. I forgot what it stands for, but okay, you can look it up. Okay, but it's a TENS pad. You usually use it for your back pain and muscle pain and things like that. So they come with little pads. These things snap on and off just like an EKG pad, and you just get that same wire, and it goes to a 1/8 inch plug. And you can use it for localized blood electrification, and you can do it for localized zapping. This is an old dog bite wound that I have on my arm. So, and this is actually, when I had that dog bite, this is how I treated it. And so you just put the pads on either side of the wound, and then you go ahead and plug it into your blood electrifier. Now, in this case, this model right here is from a guy named Michael Forrest. He's got Dragonfly as his website. And he builds them himself, just like this Silver Smoke research guy. And then basically this thing allows you to you could do blood electrification via the Beck method, which is at 4 hertz. Or if you are familiar with Hulda Clark, who wrote a book called The Cure for All Diseases, and she was all about using 10 hertz was her what her findings were in her research. And so you could pulse at 4 or 10 or even 40 hertz. You can use a dampened wave or a square wave, and then your on and off button. And so what I did was I was doing like 2 hours of 4 hertz, 2 hours of 10, and then I did some 40, but it didn't really matter. But between Beck and Clark, I was able to do the sufficient frequencies and running that through the wound itself, because I have a pad on each side of the wound, that I was able to eliminate the infection completely within just a few days. Now, from an ozone standpoint, I wanted to share with you. I just have this. In my kitchen. I just have this ozone generator in my kitchen where I just that's how I clean vegetables and stuff. And then I can make ozone water. So the plug goes into the bottom of the machine. Now, to make ozone water, I bought from this company called Promo Life. I bought a special ozone water bubbler, and it comes in this glass tube, and the glass tube extends into the flask, and then there's a glass bubbler. The thing about ozone is it's really eats up anything. So the hose has to be special. It's a silicone hose. When the gas comes into the water and bubbles back out, it goes through this little vial, and the vial contains manganese, and that nullifies the harmful effects of the ozone. The one thing about ozone is you could put it into air, or you could put it on your skin and no problem. But you don't want to breathe it. You don't want to breathe it. It will mess up your lungs. And so you need to have this is an air filter for the ozone. So the ozone goes into the flask. It comes back out through this vial and out through this little hole. And then you smell it just a little bit. But the whole idea, though, is you want to filter it out, so because you're standing there or it's in your house, you do not want to run an ozone generator into the air and have any you or your animals near it. So that's what this is for. It's a special ozone bubbler that you get with Ozone medical supplies. And so I have one of these. This is how I do it. And you can see where there's right here, there's a glass, and then there's the bubbler, and there's just any one of your 1 liter flask will work. And you just put it in there, you put the water in there, and you run it. I run it for 20 minutes, and then I drink it during the the Bob Beck protocol. And then this is actually one of the stones that comes with it, with the machine itself, but I don't use that. Now this right here is the cup. You can get this at Promo Life as well. And this is just like cupping acupuncture wise, but this is for ozone. So again, you've got the silicone tubing. You've got the manganese air filter so that when the ozone comes out, it doesn't affect your lungs. And then you just take that and you cup the wound. And that's what the circle was that you saw in the pictures. Was I put this cup over the wound, and I would run it 5 minutes at a time every day for the whole week. As soon as I had an open wound, I switched from oregano oil to ozone cupping, and it will, in my opinion, it will eliminate any pathogens on the surface, and then in the blood and in the tissues itself, you're kind of attacking the infection from 2 directions, right? You're attacking it topically and then internally. Bob Beck internally, cupping externally, and so you get it from both ways, and that's how I was able to just eliminate the infection so quickly. But that's what the cupping device looks like, and this is just what I do, and I just set it up in my kitchen. I actually have a medical grade ozone generator that has an oxygen condenser that comes with it. So, but I just didn't break it out. This actually worked just fine. It worked just fine for me, and I was pretty happy with the results. So that's it. That's the case study. I just wanted to share it with you. I wanted to share that, it's possible to heal thyself. You just have to know what to do and use the right things. But again, I do want to state again that, you should definitely seek medical help. This black widow spider bite is nothing you should be messing around with. I have personal responsibility over my health. I'm a grown man. I can make these decisions for myself. So you make decisions for yourself. I just wanted to share this with you and not get sued. So anyway, so thank you very much for watching the video. I do want to let you know I'm still active in the C60 community on Telegram. And this is actually a C60 video. The C60 actually, kicks in here. It really, I'm telling you, I'm so glad I'm on C60 because that's a huge deal when it comes to toxins. But also too, I've started a Telegram chat group for folks that are interested in bioelectrical magnetics, such as Bob Beck and these types of things. So there's the address right there if you want to come join us and kind of just listen in and chat with us and ask questions about these kinds of devices and so forth. So you're more than welcome to join if you're into bioelectromagnetics. And of course, we still have our C60 chat group on Telegram, which is continuing to be active, and the co-op is going great and so forth. So thank you again for watching the video, and I hope this helps you in one way or another. Aloha.